Hey, thanks for watching today. This week we're going to do an update on 15 states, including our newest state, and we have some new updates to the site, some new over-the-counter purchasing opportunities, some new scouting services, and a new video format we're going to be talking about too. So a lot of new things to cover, and we're going to do an auction season update for all these states that are still running their auction seasons, and even talk about the ones that recently closed out. So a lot to cover. If you want to skip around this video, use the chapters at the bottom on YouTube, and you can skip between sections and states, and that should help you out. So to start with, let's talk about next week's video. We're going to do our first Q&A video, and what this is going to be is we're just answering our most recent and frequently asked questions, the ones that seem like a lot of people might want to know the answers to. We do spend a lot of time on phone calls or emails explaining some complicated things, and it occurred to us that some of these answers might be interesting to more people than just the ones that asked. So we want to try to answer those and get those out there for you. We already have plenty of questions to choose from, but please feel free to send more. We're going to try to answer as many as we can and maybe group them together, answer a few together if it makes sense. It will not be a live event. We're just not ready for that or equipped for that, but I want time to prepare and try to get this one as clean as we can. So shoot us some questions. You can drop them in the YouTube chat here. You can leave them on our contact form, or if you're a customer, you already have our email and you can interact with us that way. So that will be next week's video. So let's talk about this week. We're going to move on and talk about the market totals. And these are new properties added to Parcel Fair in the last couple weeks. So in total, we've added 12,286 properties. Those break out into 9,844 with tax liens on them, 822 tax deeds, 824 foreclosures, and 792 new land bank properties. And if we break that down by state, we're looking at Alabama took the lead in the OTCs. That'll be one of the big announcements in this video. We have a new way to buy in Alabama over the counter that is not the Alabama Department of Revenue. Colorado had some OTC ads. That's going to be exciting because those are actually from this year's auctions, which are happening right now. One of the counties turned around some OTCs really fast. So we're looking at those. Florida, Arizona, Arkansas all had some churn here, nothing too big. And then lastly, Mississippi, Tennessee, and Maryland. So that's a lot of states that just had at least a few OTC ads for you to take a look at. So if we talk about auction properties, South Carolina had 4,050 tax auction properties added. Colorado had 3,783 added. New Jersey had about 1,600 added. That season seems to be ongoing. Followed by Florida, 355. Those are going to be in the tax deed variety. Ohio is we're just running some sample tax auctions there in the sheriff sale area. So that's something we're just previewing here briefly. And then Tennessee, 71 tax auction properties were added. And the breakout on the foreclosures is 525 in Florida, 221 in Colorado, and Indiana, 78 new. So total of 824 new foreclosure properties. Those will be in kind of rolling frequent auctions over the next few weeks. So a lot of new properties to take a look at. And so let's move on to our first state. We're going to talk about South Carolina, which we're calling it a preview mode because we just got into this a few weeks ago. This is our first auction season we've been tracking. It's the fall tax lien auctions that they're running. So we have 8 counties that we're featuring so far. One of the auctions is complete and 7 are remaining. And it's about 13,800 properties for this auction season. So some of those have already either been purchased, redeemed, or the auction has passed. So that's just the total size of what we're tracking this auction season. And the OTCs will be coming soon. That's the next step for us. We're going to add OTC inventories. I believe they call them forfeited lands in South Carolina. So and I don't think you're buying the liens. I think you're actually buying property that's been forfeited. So it's not like they're OTC liens. It's more like just OTC property. So there's a lot more to talk about in South Carolina, and we covered it in last week's video. I encourage you to go watch that video. I'm not going to retread all that territory here. I will, if you've not seen that video, I'll give you a quick look at the South Carolina auction calendar. So in October, we finished the Anderson already auction. So just in the next few days, we have several auctions going on. And then in December, we have a couple closing out at the end. And these, I'll just view properties. Let's just look at Charleston County, just so you can see what these look like. These yellow properties that are outlined on the map are going to be in the Charleston auction coming up. And you can see quite a variety of properties here. Some of them are large, especially out in the rural areas. On the coastal areas, there are waterfront, multi-unit type of properties like these that are going to be typically separate units, like in a condo that you're bidding on. Let's see if I can find one that's shows the units. If there's a net, well, I'll just click on one of these. Yes, so villa number 3512, building number 1. So this is you're not buying the entire complex. You're buying one property, one unit of the property. So that there's that kind of investment available. This is another one where there's 2 different liens on the same building because it's 2 different units, unit G4 and unit H5. There's 2 on one property, so that's how we divide it up for you. But then moving out, it's a very large county. Even up to North Charleston and up the coastline, there's property. So a lot to look at here, just in one county. And then there's several other counties to go through. Again, if you want to take a deep dive, we have another video that's just been released in the last week on our channel, so go check that out. Okay, moving on from South Carolina, let's take a look at Colorado. This fall auction season, it's in full stride. It's 20 of those auctions are complete with 14 remaining. So we, in the last week, just passed the halfway mark. We do have a specific video taking you very deep into the Colorado tax lien auction season. So I encourage you to watch that if you haven't seen it. And then most excitingly, there is the new over-the-counter properties for 2023 are already starting to show up. This being our first year watching Colorado, I was surprised how quickly they turned those around. So I'll show you those in a second. I just wanted to mention there are also foreclosure auctions, 18 in November with 13 remaining and 12 more in December. So don't forget about the foreclosures that go year-round on the website, as well as the OTCs. Now let's take a look at the OTCs. So on the map, I'm going to select Colorado. And if I want to look at the OTC properties, let's clear the filters out. I'm going to go to inventory and click over the counter. But in this specific case, I actually want to see just the 2023. So I go to availability here. That means their tax sale was this year. And so if I click go on that, there's 148. I believe they're all in Pueblo County, but there's quite a bit to choose from that are over the counter here that are not bad. There's actually structures. Some of them have a good value to them. So you can take one of these properties, click on it like this, view the tax lien that's available. This one's $183. And you can click on the apply online. And this is going to be specifically how to buy from this one county. Every county is going to be different. But we walk you through the steps of contacting the Pueblo County Treasurer to inquire about this property. We give you the number to use. And that's how you would purchase directly from them. As always, you have the assessor report, treasurer report, all these links to show you more about the property if you wanted to go see, for instance, the assessor report and get more detail from the county directly to know what you're buying there. But anyways, this really great opportunity to buy. We're trying to put you in touch with the county because they don't have a way to buy online. You would just buy directly from them. This can be a very rewarding way to purchase because you are not having to bid at auction. You're buying at full interest rate, and you can preview the property here and know what you're looking at. So we expect more to come on Colorado's over-the-counter properties this year. But for now, you have the first batch is available. So let's cover New Jersey. We have a fall auction season that just keeps going. I took the numbers from previous months out, but since September and especially October, we've had a lot of auctions. I believe October broke 85. And November, we already have 25 auctions scheduled, of which 24 of those are remaining. And at least 12 more coming in December. So this I guess we're heading out of fall into winter at this point, but you have this fall auction season that started in September is just still going. So check back for more auctions as they're added. We do have a deep dive video about New Jersey if you want to go much deeper into that state. But let's take a look at the auction calendar and see what this looks like. We've had auctions ever since January. Every month's had a little bit. And then you see October hit 85. Here we are in November. There's quite a few just scattered out on the calendar for the rest of the month. One of the pieces of feedback I have about New Jersey is that you want to make sure and register in advance for these auctions. I think sometimes even 2 weeks or more in advance in some of the larger ones. So if you see a county where a municipality here that you want to bid in, be sure to register for that auction in plenty of time. They're all through the same website here, Real Auction, that we link you to. And let's just click on, I'm going to pick a random auction here. So we're looking at the properties in yellow are at auction. I think houses like these. So we're looking at, I think that's a vacant. No, that has buildings too. So there's a lot of houses here, actually. I'm just a little surprised at how many of these seem to have really good value on them too. And so let's just, we'll pick one to go into deeper. We'll go here. That is maybe one of the best looking tax properties I've ever seen, with a total value of $2 million. Hard to believe that's even available. So there's one tax lien available. It's very cheap, so the odds of redemption on this are probably very high. Obviously, on properties like this, if you're buying a lien here, the auction could bid this property up, and so that's a good reason to do some scouting to make sure you know your max price that you're willing to pay in advance, and make sure the house is still standing. I would say this is a little discouraging looking at the assessor website for me, because the 2023 valuations are cleared out. That's a red flag for me. I'm looking at previous years, the valuations look really good. So I would want to know what's going on with this property before I bid on it. Why is the lien so cheap, and why are the values cleared out? This is a strange one for us to hit at random. But the price of that lien, the value of the property, and then just looking at this, I would want to do my homework on it and know what I'm getting into if I were trying to buy this lien. So, wow, very interesting property just to pull up at random. It's not every day you see a $2 million house with a $200 lien on it. But then again, that's going to attract a lot of investor attention, so there's a good chance it will redeem or bid very high at auction. So, but yeah, just clicking around here, I could do this all day. There's tons of properties. This is just one county at a time I am filtered by. So New Jersey, that's a nutshell. If you want to know more about it, I suggest going back and watching our video that we put out. So moving on to Tennessee, let's go ahead and this slide wanted to show up in reverse for some reason. So what we're looking at is the remaining auctions and then the ones that recently completed. It looks like Tennessee is sort of slowing down right now. Some of the bigger auctions are behind us. Davidson is still scheduled for another auction on 11/15. If it doesn't cancel, I believe they held their last one in October, which was different. They'd canceled at least 2 or 3 in a row. So if they keep the November one, there's a handful of properties there. And then we have an upcoming one in Robertson that the properties are not released yet for, so that's coming up. And then, as always, we always remind you of the over-the-counter opportunities in the Shelby Land Bank. That's Memphis. There are 24 properties added this week. So let's see if we're, no, I need to go to the map. Let's check out the Davidson auction and see, there's only 38 properties in it, but this is the Nashville area. If you're able to buy anything here, it could be very good value depending on the marketability of the property. But with 38 to choose from, it's an in-person auction, and these are tax deeds with 1-year redemption. So they're pretty appealing. A lot of people will go for these, and it can be very rewarding if you don't mind going in person and buying, looking at properties like these that are just in a very marketable area of Tennessee, around the northern Nashville area. So that auction is coming up. And we won't go over the land bank this week. I think I've shown you the Shelby Land Bank every week since we started this series. So let's move on to, I'll just call this what's left of New Mexico fall tax deed auctions. There's literally the last auction that we see on the calendar is coming up in just a few days, 10 days. We've been tracking this season, a chunk of auctions, and I don't know if they'll announce any more. If they do, we will certainly cover those. And beyond that, check out last month's New Mexico tax deed auction video that goes in depth about how to invest there, how to find these auctions and register and buy. That can be very helpful if you are interested in learning more. So we're through all the active auction seasons. So we're going to talk about Alabama, which is in off season. That auction season ended in June. And I'm going to show this illustration again of the auction season. Actually, this is the tax investing season as a whole, not just auctions in Alabama. So at the top, we'll take this from the top left. You're looking at tax lien and tax certificate auctions at the beginning of the year from January to March. Those lists are available and up on the website on Parcel Fair for you to research. And then from April to around middle of June, early June, you're looking at auction season. So those auctions you've been researching, that research pays off as you're buying. And then the auctions all go cold in June until really the next year. So you have an auction off season in that top right corner that really is where we're at right now. So let's move down to the OTCs. Everything else here is technically OTC if you want to split hairs, but the county OTC liens, the Alabama Department of Revenue OTC certificates, and the Alabama Department of Revenue over-the-counter deeds. Those are triple stacked here because they have the same season. In this blue box here, you're buying those for purchase. You're still buying them in the green box here, except this is to call out that a lot of the new ones get released just shortly after the auction's complete. That's why it's staggered. And then you have, go back to an OTC season here to close out the year. And the resellers and the land banks, you have new inventory added year-round. They are not really seasonal unless the occasional land bank closes for a few months to either play catch-up or change their website. Right now, out of the land banks we're tracking in Alabama, the Gadsden Land Bank in Etowah County is redoing their website. We've kept the properties on Parcel Fair for you to look at because it was the last list that they published. You probably, if you want to buy, you need to contact the city of Gadsden and find out how to buy. I don't think the website is available yet, but I didn't want to take them off of our website yet because I'm hopeful that they will get their site back up and get you purchasing again. And that's all for Alabama. So Arizona, this is one of our off-season states. And we do have an announcement for this. We knew the auction season ended in March. It's kind of cold at this point. The over-the-counter tax liens were released a long time ago. You can still purchase direct from the county at 16% interest. There's about 40,000 to choose from. But today what we're introducing is an Arizona photo and video scouting service. And to start with, it covers 3 counties, Maricopa, Coconino, and Cochise. Those are very large counties because Arizona only has 15 counties, and it's a big state. Those 3 of the larger ones. And let me show you how to engage that service. It does cost money, of course, but if you want to go to, let's just say, Maricopa County, clear our filters, and let's go see what's available. How does this one look? That looks like a ditch, another ditch. Okay. Not a great looking property. I'm going to go by the valuation here and see something that looks like it's worth a little bit more than that, just to make sure. There we go. So this, it still looks kind of like something, maybe you could do something with that property. I don't know. Well, here's one. Okay. So this is still just the area between 2 houses, but if we wanted to get a photograph of this property and see if we wanted to buy it or buy the lien on it, underneath the Google Street View, you've always had the panorama view, which shows whatever imagery we can get from the last time Google drove the neighborhood. But if you want something more recent, click on this Order Photos and Videos button, and just like we do in Alabama, we give you a way to contact a photo video service in the area. And this just gets the ball rolling. Depending on where this property is located, especially in Arizona, if you pick something, let's way out in the middle of the canyon somewhere, they might come back to you and say, we can't get to the property, or we'll have to fly a drone over it, or something like that. So our form just connects you to the person there and lets you try to figure out what is it you need for this property. Is it video? Is it photo? Is it someone to walk if it's vacant land and get corners of the property, or what? So that's a new service, again, that we are partnering up with. It's not us that you'll be working with, but actually it's a small group of folks in Arizona that are starting this business up. So feel free to use that on the site, and hopefully as the auction season in Arizona picks up around January, that service could be very useful in the early part of next year. Moving on to Florida, we're just going to talk about all at once. The Florida has these tax investment seasons. We know the lien auctions are in May and June. That's the smallest part of the season. Everything else goes pretty much year-round. You have year-round tax deed auctions. We're looking at 47 coming up in November, and we're already looking at 29 more in December. That's actually lower than previous months. I think October hit 80-something. So there's usually, or maybe 70s, there's usually more tax deed auctions than just this. Foreclosure auctions are year-round. We're looking at 289 in November. There's about 178 plus coming in December as well. So there's always foreclosure auctions to look at. And then you also have over-the-counter tax liens and tax deeds all year. The tax deeds are called lands available for taxes. That's what Florida calls them. So since we're just talking about the auction season today, let's click on, wrong one, Florida. And the calendar is quite packed for this year for Florida, so it takes it a moment to load. We're going to show you a shortcut for that. Let's skip over the foreclosures and look at just the tax deed auctions instead, and that should give us a smaller number to look at. So month over month, you're looking at, okay, so in the 40s, 50s, August hit 78, and then October hit 75 tax deed auctions. So those were the biggest months. So I guess November's not too much of an outlier. You do see them scattered throughout the month. Many different counties, smaller auctions for tax deeds that you can buy. And on into December, we have even more. If you wanted to see the foreclosure auctions, all you have to do is change the filter on the top. and that's going to take you to the different foreclosure auctions. And again, there are hundreds every month on that front. So 338 in October, 289 foreclosure auctions in November, and then we have more coming in December. The interesting thing about Florida is there seems to be, there's always a way to buy no matter what time of year. The only limiting season would be the tax lien auctions in May and June. So we won't cover anything more in Florida. We've covered that many times in videos before. If you want deeper information on Florida, we have a whole playlist of Florida videos on our channel that I hope you'll check out. Mississippi is well into over-the-counter season. The tax lien auction season ended in August. So we'll just touch on the fact that they do have an over-the-counter option called the tax forfeited lands. Now, these are not tax liens you're buying over the counter. The tax lien auctions are what you're going to get in the fall and in the spring through August. But what you're buying over the counter are actually redemption-free tax deeds. So you're buying the property, and the state has already gone to the efforts of foreclosing the liens for you. So you're not buying tax liens over the counter from the Tax Forfeited Lands Department. And there are 7,867 OTCs currently available from this program on the website, available year-round. We saw 213 of those added in October, and there's already, in just a few days in November, we've already seen 21 new properties. So we'll touch on that briefly. If you want to check out Mississippi over the counter, just click Mississippi. Now this time of year, you don't really need any other filters, but you know, during the auctions, you could filter it over the counter. And we'll limit it pretty heavily and go with just improvements, which means only things that have buildings. So instead of 7,800 properties, we're going to filter this down to 982 that have structures on them. So that's a quick time saver there. If we wanted to put a minimum value at $10,000 to make sure that it's not a shack or something not worth chasing, that will then take it from 982 down to 673, so almost a third. Big concentration of them in Jackson area. I believe that's Hinds County. Let's click one and see. That's correct. So that's the properties over the counter showing structures in Mississippi. If you wanted, you could view them in a grid using this right-hand panel. And something we like to do after we run that search is sort by the total value. Clicking the column heading, you can sort it like that. And now we're looking at, across the different counties, the most valuable properties available in the program. And you can sort of go down the list this way. Maybe this is how you want to shop instead of the other way on the map. And if you want to buy, we have the purchase option here. It walks you through the steps. This is not the easiest place to buy from. We have a lot of users complain. I've tried to capture the steps here to walk you through it. But what you have to do is actually go create an account on their website, find the property using these steps that we're talking about by selecting the county and the parcel number right here. It'll give you all the information you need to find it. You actually have to save the property into sort of a shopping cart. And then once you've added this plus any other properties, there's a multi-step application where you put in your name and information and just follow their instructions is the best advice I can give you. To complete that form, and that will put your application in for that property to buy. So like I mentioned earlier, you can look at this two ways. You could look at it as cumbersome and annoying and wasting your time to fill this application out, or you can look at it as an opportunity because a lot of people won't take the time to figure this out, and that gives you an advantage if you're one of the people that will take the time to go through the process. On that note, let's switch over to Arkansas. So the auction season is over. That's nothing new, but we are tracking new over-the-counter tax deeds. Just the month by month. In September, 665 leftovers were added. Even more in October, 987 added. Again, a few days into November, we've only seen 5 added, but we expect more to be added throughout the winter. This is a year-round purchase opportunity from the Commissioner of State Lands, one of the easiest departments to work with. And in contrast to what we just talked about in Mississippi, the Commissioner of State Lands is one of the easiest places to buy from. There is some competition there because there are miniature auctions that run every day. We will not spend a ton of time on this, but let's take a quick peek at some Arkansas. Let's just see everything in Arkansas right now because we're out of auction season. So we might as well just look at all that's available over the counter. So 5,655, I see a few on the map right here. Just the first one I see, we'll click on that. A few over here. And we'll pick this one. It's land only, which that's very common in Arkansas. A lot of the solid structure properties are picked over quickly. But the process here, you're going to continue the application. And on that website, you essentially on the right-hand side, you place the starting bid and you're off to the races. Now you're just tracking a miniature auction with one property in it. And if people bid against you, you'll need to decide how high you want to go, just like any other auction. But remember, it's confusing. I know this says auction, but it's technically a leftover property that did not sell at the annual auction. So this is how Arkansas sells their leftovers. If you want a better view of what's in this inventory, let's view the results in a grid. This will take a second. There's a lot of properties to pull into the grid. In fact, let's filter before I do that. I think I would. Whoops. Okay, it really wants to load this. I should have filtered it first. Okay, we'll just filter it here instead. Let's go minimum value $10,000. That's going to save us a lot of time off the bat. Oh, there's only 63 properties that had that, so that took it way down. So that shows you how much junk was in that inventory. But here we are looking at the ones that you might actually want to invest in. This one has a structure on it. The Google car did not drive there, so there's no street view. But it's a $29,000 structure. And again, you can begin the bidding process by clicking here and going to the Arkansas application. So let's cover our next state. We're looking at Maryland, which is over-the-counter season, the last auction completed since our last video. So officially, the auction closed out the season for Maryland, unless a surprise resale auction pops up. We've seen some of those in the late fall, but I would be surprised if we saw any more auctions in Maryland this year. So we do have over-the-counter properties in many counties, but most importantly, Baltimore City has the largest opportunity, 3 different ways to buy, and 2,800 OTC properties available. So that's Maryland in a nutshell. Still plenty to look at if you want to buy over-the-counter property and over-the-counter liens both from Maryland, Baltimore City in particular. So for Indiana, we are now in foreclosure season because the fall tax lien auction season just completed. We have foreclosure auctions year-round, and that's all that we have left in 2023 because there's nothing OTC in Indiana. There are 30 auctions scheduled in November, and that's it for Indiana. So foreclosures, let's just to get some closure on the season, we'll go to Indiana. Oops, I'm on the wrong screen. Let's go to the auction calendar in Indiana. We're looking at foreclosures only anyways. And so you can see they're scattered around. They are small, 1 property, 5 properties. Some of them are very small. And this is how you would select your auction to choose from, or you can, of course, search across the auctions if you want to look at all of them on the map at once. So let's move on to North Carolina. Looks like we have another spoiler in this slide. So the auction season is year-round. Individual foreclosure auctions are scheduled. We are in very early preview mode with very few counties so far. We've been asking for weeks for suggestions, and thank you to Mary Ann on the YouTube comments, gave us some ideas of what to look at next. And actually there we go. So the counties listed here, one of them's finished and the rest are the ones we're looking at. That should keep us busy for a little while, trying to get North Carolina up and going again. Just as a reminder, we were tracking a handful of auctions here earlier in the year, and there just was not much interest from our user base. So now that we are starting to get some ideas about where to go with this inventory, we are picking it back up. So North Carolina, will keep digging on it and add over-the-counters and auctions where they're available. And we'll keep you posted on how it goes. Oklahoma and Utah, these are very much in their off seasons. And the over-the-counter properties are available in a few counties. Not too many are available. A lot of counties have 0 over-the-counter properties. More counties will come, and we're waiting on suggestions for areas to look because these auction seasons seem to be in pretty high demand with our users, but the over-the-counters, I don't know if it's because there's not many available or people don't care. So we're not going to chase the over-the-counter properties in these states unless we see some opportunity there that we've not seen yet. So it may just be auction seasons we're tracking for Oklahoma and Utah in the near future. So that covers everything, all 15 states, all the news we want to tell you. Next week we have that Q&A session. Please send us questions in advance. That way we can put our answers together in advance and give you the best answer we can possibly get. We're looking forward to that, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. Give us a shout out in the comments. If you subscribe to this channel if you want to know when these videos come out and get updates directly from us. And thank you for watching.